welcome to Miss V's Corner. In today's video, I will share a super special website that I found online and I did with my elementary music classes when we talked about the topic of opera. This website is a part of Go Classical website. It's a game called Build Your Own Opera. It is Hansel and Gretel opera that the little ones absolutely enjoy being a part of and making it individual for their classes and for their imagination. Stick around if you want to learn how to use this website in your lesson plans if you're a music teacher. Okay, so here we are on a website called Go Classical for Kids. It is an amazing website with tons of activities, and I'll make kind of tutorials and reviews of all of these. But for today, I want to touch up on this one, Hansel and Gretel, Build Your Own Opera. If you are a teacher, one thing I would suggest is to click here, and then that will take you to PDFs of teacher resources that you can download, and the lesson plans, text and libretto, quiz, puppet art activity, fractured fairy tale activity. So this is a great lesson plan that you can use with your language arts and reading teachers if you're talking about fairy tales in your school and in your units. So now that you have went to For Teachers and downloaded the lesson plans, let's check out the website that the kids would actually get to work on and organize and play around. Okay, so here we are, Design Your Own Opera, Hansel and Gretel, an opera by Engelbert Humperdinck. And this is the program. And I would suggest first type in the name of either your class or your own name. Just going to type up here 5-year-old class because I've done this with the 5-year-olds, and then click next. And this is the opening page. You'll hear music in the background that talks about credits and the cast and what an opera is about, how many acts it has. Read this to the students so they get familiarized with the actual story. You can also talk about overture and the melody and different vocabulary words that go along with this opera. And now we're moving on to the very first page. In this page, you actually see or hear the music or the overture, and you see the witch fly around, and the students thoroughly enjoy this and find this very funny and entertaining. Again, all of those slides are very self-explanatory. There are words and the topics about melody and different vocabulary words that the students are learning throughout this. Always click next to go to the next page. And then we're in Act 1, the cottage. In here, you get to be a costume designer while you listen to the music, and you get to choose different costumes that the characters are wearing, while here on the bottom you can see the lyrics of the actual songs that are being performed. Also on the bottom, you get to see and you get to be a choreographer very soon, so you get to be choosing different movements that the character of Hansel and Gretel are dancing to. Kids find this very entertaining. Before you get to the next slide, read what is written on the right before you click the word next. And then we have Mom enter the stage. Mom is singing the lyrics on the bottom so students can actually see what the character is singing about. And then while you're listening to, you can be a set designer and choose the backdrop of the actual musical. Click next to go to the next slide. In this slide, as the father comes on stage, you get to be a prop manager and you get to help your students choose which items that will be put on the stage of our opera. Now we're moving on to the next page. Here you get to be a lighting technician, and you get to move your cursor to find out where the witch is and which character is actually singing, so you get to follow them with the light. After being a lighting technician, Hansel and Gretel have moved on to the forest. But before that, that's our Act 2. So in the forest, you get to be a set designer. You choose kind of a background you have for your set. You have multiple choices here on the bottom. So Hansel and Gretel are alone in the forest, but on the next page, something happens to comfort them. As they sing the lullaby, the angels come to keep them safe and comfort them throughout the night. Now we are at the intermission, and next, when you click next, you get to be a set designer. My little ones especially enjoyed decorating the gingerbread house that will appear later on stage, and they think it's super funny. I let them all choose a particular piece of candy and put it on the house wherever they want it to be. We are now in Act 3, The Witch, and Hansel and Gretel have come up and found the house, the gingerbread house in the forest. And it's the same gingerbread house that our students have just decorated moments before, and they think it's super fun and so interesting to see. So Hansel and Gretel have found the house and are eating cookies, gingerbread house, and the witch shows up. You get to be a technical director and help the witch appear on stage. So here we are, the witch has made contact with Hansel and Gretel, and you get to play around with the lights a little bit, and you get to be the lighting technician. You will click on all of those spotlights, and they will change depending on however you want it to change or whatever color you want it to change. The students also find this very fun and entertaining. In this scene, you also get to be a technical director, and you get to move the witch back and forth as you listen to the music. And the kids find this very fun as she's flying, hang by the ropes across the stage. Now we're back to stage directions. You get to show the witch's blocking by pressing the on and off button, and then as the music goes on and the witch is singing, she moves according to the stage directions on the floor. Now as you listen to the music and you follow the lyrics on the bottom, you get to be a lighting technician who operates the lights. Now this is a good way to talk to your students and good time to talk to your students, but the actual story, how does Gretel save her brother? Does she save her brother? What happens in it? And students get to watch and hear as the characters and the opera singers are singing. Now, at this part of the story, Gretel pretends she does not know how to work the oven, and she asks the witch to show her. The music makes it really clear that Hansel and Gretel are going to be saved and make their way out of this horrible situation, and that the triumph of good will be over the evil. So now, after Hansel and Gretel have successfully gotten rid of the witch, you also get to be a set designer, and you get to choose your backdrop to celebrate the happy events at the end of the story. As Hansel and Gretel celebrate getting rid of the witch, you get to be a technical effects director if you click on the bottom, and there are some fireworks that show up that help celebrate the happy occasion. Of course, Mom and Dad show up, and they're all happily reunited, and it's a big finale of an opera, and you can click on the bottom to bring the trees and the nature back to life. And as you can see on the right, the witch is all frozen, and she is now a gingerbread cookie. And of course, at the end of the opera and any play and any musical, the actors and singers come and bow, and we can give them little roses and congratulate the singers. You can throw a rose on stage. And now you get to go backstage and learn about composer, learn about what opera is, glossary of the opera, fairy tales, voice studio, and teacher resources. Click on any one of those so you can go through it with your students. There are multiple links. This is the glossary or vocabulary of different things in theater or in opera. Fairy tales, there are links to different fairy tales. There are activities that you can work after the unit. Teacher resources as well that I told you at the very beginning. So this is it. I have just went really quickly through this resource. You can spend at least one class time working on this with your students. It doesn't need to happen only in music class. That can happen in literacy classes. That can happen in your collaboration with other teachers that talk about fairy tales. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you find this resource exciting and useful. Thanks for watching.